right? Hey, live chat. I guess I did something different on my lives. Now it behaves, so we'll see how long that lasts. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you're finding some peace and quiet in the chaos of our modern society. I just wanted to throw a video out. We had a I've been on a lot. I mod for a few other folks. We all mod back and forth. And I also was a guest and hopping in and out of other people's chats as best as I could with my schedule. And I gotta tell this freaking, it's the same stretch of road. I noticed there were some folks who were kind of concerned, and what a lot of the channels were trying to do is make you aware of stuff, not to freak folks out in general, but just be aware. But unfortunately, you hear enough of it and it just becomes concerning, and I can totally get that. And but I wanted to remind folks that we really need to stay with the basics, the fundamentals of not only life but preparedness. Hey KP, what's going on? Things like, for instance, making sure you have enough food for a weekend, a week. And really, it doesn't take much. Hey, Daryl, what's going on? Hey, Rocky. Welcome. Watchman. Yeah, Watchman, that whole situation's just getting uglier and uglier. It was kind of an embarrassing scene. Our president flew all the way to Israel, and because of the hospital bombing, in protest, nobody wanted to meet him, and that, except for Netanyahu. So that's bad stuff. Hey, Moldy. But folks, in the chats, there were a lot of folks who are either new to prepping or younger folks who are just, learning about the larger aspects of living on their own. And they kind of got a little freaked out in a few of the chats. And some of us with more experience were kind of trying to talk to them and communicate. Hey, KP. Yeah, oh God, the UEP long, man, the first time I went through that scared the crap out of me. So those of you who don't have context, they built that bridge, and it had a road on either side, but it didn't really go anywhere. And it was built in the 30s. It was one of those Civil Conservation Corps bridges. It's still up, but the lanes were meant for like 1930s Fords, not and Chevrolets. They weren't meant for F-150s. And if you've never been on that bridge, you scare the crap out of you the first time, especially those outer lanes. Hey Joe, hey Daryl. But where I was going, folks need to stay with the basics. There's not much any of us can do with what's happening overseas, and it's something I was trying to communicate to a few folks in another chat. I was in the chat, I wasn't presenting. Stick with the fundamentals, the food. Make sure you have potable water, bottled water. Before Hurricane Ike, there were folks panicking because they couldn't find bottled water, right? Because it was all off the shelf. It's 3 lanes now. Wow. Now I have to go to Louisiana and go visit my brother and go see the UEP long. But during that hurricane, there was a couple there. She was mortified. She had just moved down there and she's freaking out. And got hit some air bases. Yeah, I saw that, the air base hits. And I told this couple, I was like, are you okay? And they're like, well, they moved from like Chicago or somewhere else where you didn't get hurricanes. And they were freaking out. And I said, I told him, I said, well, you see these janky, like, store brand sodas that are like 50 cents a bottle? They're like, yeah. I said, buy 4 of the bottles, keep 1 as soda, dump the rest out, rinse it with Dawn, and fill it with tap water. I said, it's not great, but it's potable. You can drink it, you can wash with it. And they go, oh, well, what about bread? I said, there's no bread in the bread aisle. Have you gone to the frozen foods? And the wife says, well, I said, get the Pillsbury bread. And she said, well, but the fridge will probably go out. And I said, yeah, but you cook the bread today. Cook it with your kids. Even Joe's mention of the cornbread, right? If you can't find bread, go get the cornbread mix and make it now, right? If you expect a hurricane or power outage, make it today, right? How long does bread last once you've baked it, right? It gets stale maybe 3 days, and you don't get mold on bread or like a fresh loaf for a while. Hey, coffee. Hey, devil dog. And as I kind of walk them through some ideas of how to get water, how to get milk, how to make bread, it just they weren't thinking because they were so emotionally invested in the fact the hurricane was coming, and they'd just seen Katrina a few years before, that they weren't thinking of practical things. And I want to remind everyone that whether, like we're seeing the ammunition manufacturer, one of them is now 100% DoD manufacturing. It's probably because the Pentagon called them and said, hey, we're going to need, 10 million rounds of whatever. And they're like, oh, okay, here's your check. And they changed manufacturing. Not a reason to panic. You stick with the basics, get what you can when you can. Hey, Constitutional. And if I missed anyone in the chat, my apologies. Making my lunch, hopping in and out of chat. No worries, coffee. Just stay with the fundamentals. If you can't get a whole bucket of whatever long-term meals, who cares? Go get some $1.25 cans of chicken or tuna, stick them in the pantry. You get... Canadian prepper told me to panic. He does a lot of... I don't know. He seems to freak people out. I always take him with a grain of salt, but he does like a lot of his thumbnails are like death. Who's the other guy? It's another bald guy, but with it's the white guy that looks like he's on meth. Like he has some interesting analysis, and then he freaks everyone out in the process. Survival something? No. FSS, yes. Full spectrum. Thank you. Every one of his thumbnails, he's like this. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you, bro? Calm the hell down. You do some different poses. I mean, you look like you look like a cat that just literally put its face in catnip, and they come out and they're like, and they have shark eyes and shit. Hey, Orion. And he says good stuff. Say to panic despite his thumbnails. No, I think folks need to take him with a grain of salt. And he does this as a business, right? So, hey, Caribbean House. So I don't hate too much on CP. I kind of found him amusing. I think it was Full Spectrum had said, run up your credit cards or something. That pissed me off. Because people will actually do that. And he said that 2 years ago. The economy is going to collapse. You may as well run up your credit card. Well, now if somebody listened to that, they owe $10,000 in credit card at 25%. And they're screwed. You know what I mean? Like I try to at least take the approach when I say something and it turns out wrong. It could, cause someone a problem. So that's why I try to be even-handed with what I say. When COVID came out, he was washing anything that he had put in the grocery cart before he brought it in the house, and he looked. Yeah, I can imagine. And to be fair, nobody knew what the hell was happening with COVID. And then everyone caught it, and not everyone died. And then we're like, this is like a screwed up flu thing. But going back to that couple, just reminding them of some of the fundamentals. I told them, hey, don't worry. They can't find bread. Get tortillas. Go to the frozen food or the refrigerated section. Get the stupid Pillsbury, little French loaves. Who cares if the power goes out? Make them tonight. Make them with your kids. Tell them we're going to have bread for the hurricane. Get some peanut butter to go with it. You know what I mean? There's stuff you can do without giving yourself a heart attack. And I think people get emotionally invested in some of these stories. And man, the high school girls were about to run into the traffic, and one of them just face planted in the grass. Sweetheart, if you can't run across the curb, you should not run across the street. That's just a bad idea. Anyway, man, the shit I see. I really need to get that dash cam, guys, so y'all can see some of the shit I see, like the flying mattress the other day, or the police chase that almost squished me into the curb. Anyway. Stay with the fundamentals. Stay on a budget. You only have $5 to spare. You can buy those emergency ponchos or 2 cheap flashlights for $2 a piece with the little batteries, those janky ones. And yeah, exactly. And actually, I used that analogy. I told him, I said, look, I lived in the Northeast for a while. Think of like a blizzard, but the power goes out. And I asked him, where do you live? And the subdivision they're in was on high ground. I said, you should not flood. If you flood, we need an ark, right? And they kind of laughed, and I'm like, just prepare for a camping trip for 3 days. Does that make sense? And they're like, oh. But they were panicked, right? Because it was new, and they didn't stop and just assess. Actually, I've used a trash bag as a poncho, and it works really well. You just poke your head through it, and then you look like, a human garbage can. But anyway, it does work. I've done it. Especially when drunk, it's an amazingly effective way not to get pneumonia. But stay with the basics. Stay in your budget. Don't have a heart attack. There's nothing we can do if, I'm concerned about, I'll be honest, I'm concerned, knowing what I know about history, I'm concerned about what's going on in the Middle East. That can spin out in 4 different ways, and a lot of them are not good, and it could come home to roost, right? A war in this day and age with large powers is not going to stay overseas. It's going to come home. Well, Kentucky, exactly. Improvise. Like I told them, she's like, I can't find flashlights and batteries. I'm like, go to the house section or whatever, and go get the Jesus candles that they have. And I told them that, and the lady started laughing. I'm like, I'm serious. I mean, I don't know if you're Catholic. I'm not, but go get the Jesus candles. You know why? They still work, and it may make your house smell like a church and relax everyone. I don't know. I've never owned one. But yeah, go get a candle. And then just remember to put it out so you don't set your house on fire during the hurricane, because that would suck. And that does happen, by the way. People have set their house on fire during hurricanes. Common sense things. You go to I don't know, Hobby Lobby, one of those arts and crafts stores, or even Walmart. They got those cheap ass tea lights, those little nubby things, and it's a pack of 40 of the frickin' things for $6. Those things will last forever. You don't need to light the whole house up, right? You put one in one of those little candle holders, and you use it like the ancient people did in the lanterns, right? You just walk around with a stupid little candle so you don't trip on the dog and bust your ass. And just staying with those fundamentals, get back to those basic, I'm going to go camping for 4 days. I'm going to be in the dark for 4 days. I need glow sticks. Don't have a heart attack. You don't need bougie light. Like, if you can afford bougie light and you like it, hey, more power to you. I bought 20 pounds of potatoes for how much? $5. Got 40 pounds. They were small. And I made 2 servings out of what was left, and we froze them. Right? We sealed them. We took the vac on them, sealed them, froze them. They're in the freezer now. The food saver, seal it so you don't get freezer burn. Into the freezer it went. So stay with the basics. Don't waste food. If you cook and have leftovers, find a way to save them, store them, can them. And we'll wait and see. There's not much any of us can do with what's going on overseas. But stay in your budget. Stay within your skill set. If you need to learn a skill while the internet's working, before someone hacks us or whatever, now's a great time to Biden is saying his Fruit Loops. Actually, Biden looks tired. Like, again, his Fruit Loops. Actually, Biden looks tired. Like, again, I didn't vote for them up to the task. I mean, you look at Bush, Obama, Clinton, how old these guys got after 6-8 years in office. I mean, it just wears you out. That's a lot of burn. Winning streak, probably hiding Kamala, because if something does happen to the president, we don't have a speaker, so it would be Biden, Kamala, and then whoever the speaker is, and we don't have a speaker. So people ultimately, that's a problem. I think from there it goes to the president of the Senate. I don't remember the cabinet members. But and right now we don't have number 3 position filled. So, you know, that's Hercules. Have hold on, winning. With no Jesus candles. Oh, stupid Joe. Okay, I had no idea what the hell everyone was going on about. No, Joe knows I'm Puerto Rican. He likes being a shit. That's why I don't pay attention to him. I was watching him a mere few minutes ago, Watchman. Bad Jesus, no Jesus candles. Hold on, man. Now I'm getting the chat all out of order. Jordan is out of control, and Biden had to cancel. Yeah. Coffee. I'm not even repeating. When I saw Pete go live, I don't know what they're talking about now. So sorry, I was going back in the chat. So yeah, and the whole reason I'd done this video was largely because we had a lot of people in the chats, not just my chats, but other chats I'm either modding in or I was just in the chat kind of saying hi to folks, were freaking out. They were starting to panic, especially the new people. So stay with your basics, stay with the fundamentals, get your food in order, get your in order. There's really nothing to do over here. But I know they were throwing Molotovs at one of our embassies, and embassy on fire. U.S. embassy crazy. Doesn't hope to be your folks in the chat, wherever the chat may be. Take some time to my next video. A bit.